Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I want to do is talk about lessons that I've learned through my experience podcasting. For those of you guys who don't know, I've actually had a podcast called the Commercial Real Estate Academy podcast with my good friend, Jeff Walston. We're almost at 100 episodes, which is absolutely crazy to think about. And then I've also run another podcast called Commercial Real Estate 101, which is not really a podcast, it's more of a meetup. But I convert the meetup recording into a podcast format. And so in today's video, I'm going to explain the top 4 lessons that I've learned through those experiences. And then, some of the insights that you can garner so that if you look to do something similar, you have something to go on. So before I dive into this video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you can like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message and learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. So now you've done that, go ahead and like and subscribe below. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode. All right, so for those of you guys who don't know, as I said before, I currently run 2 podcasts, one being more of a meetup that I converted into a podcast called Commercial Real Estate 101, and the other one being the Commercial Real Estate Academy, where we interview people from all across the nation on a variety of topics of commercial real estate related topics. And we've interviewed brokers, we've interviewed developers, we've interviewed attorneys, construction company owners, technology company owners that are pertaining to commercial real estate. So it's really been a unique experience, to say the least. As far as the lessons that I've learned and as far as the download numbers are concerned, we've eclipsed 75,000 downloads across those 2 platforms, which is pretty amazing to think. But these are the lessons that I've learned thus far, having gone through this experience and being part of this for the last, I would say, about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now of doing the podcasting front. So to start off with, number 1 is it does not have to be perfect. I can't tell you how many times that I've interacted with people who are hesitant about creating content because they're worried about what others might think, and they're worried about producing something that is not of a high quality. To be honest with you, when you first start out, you're not going to be doing very good to begin with. It's like any skill that you learn over time. It takes practice and repetition to become an effective, podcaster, an effective salesperson, an effective leader. It takes time and repetition. And so when you first get started, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't have a fancy microphone, you don't necessarily need one. You can use the microphone on your phone, and you just get to recording, get out there and start producing content so you can get those reps and start building out your base as far as listenership is concerned. So number 1 lesson is it doesn't have to be perfect, and over time you will iterate and make it your own, and hopefully at some point in time you make it into a high production value and it becomes a much more effective podcast as a result. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that results take time. I remember when I first started the podcast, we were maybe getting 10 to 15 downloads an episode. So you'd put in a lot of effort, you'd schedule the guests, you'd come up with the questions, you'd have to edit and do whatever you needed to do to get the podcast out. And then once you put it out into the world, you got almost no responses. You literally got 10 to 15 downloads an episode. And that can be very disheartening when you put so much effort into something, you don't see immediate results. And so to start off with, understand that it's going to take you at least 1 year to start seeing a little bit of traction. In particular, if you're focused on a topic like commercial real estate that's very niche, you're not necessarily going to have a huge audience to attract to start off with. And so understand results take time. Just keep to the process and be consistent with it. At least produce an episode a week if possible, maybe once every other week at a minimum, but be consistent and understand that results do take time. So that's number 2. Number 3 is to leverage your network. One of the best value that I've gotten from the podcast is the network that I've built as a result. For example, with the Commercial Real Estate Academy podcast, we've interviewed almost 100 professionals across the nation on a variety of different subjects pertaining to commercial real estate. These professionals are brokers, developers, construction professionals, CEOs of companies, tech entrepreneurs that are focused on the commercial real estate space. You don't think that network is going to be able to help me long-term in my career? Absolutely. As 2023 rolls around, one of my goals for the year is to start being much more active on the conference circuit. And you better believe that every single city that I go to, I'm going to look at the list of people that I have connected with through the podcast, and I'm going to grab coffee with them and continue to foster that relationship, because you never know. Commercial real estate doesn't really have borders. You can literally do business with people all across the nation, and if people are, transplanting towards Louisville, who do you think they're going to think of when it comes to their business needs? And so fostering that network and understanding that being strategic about the people that you interview is also very important to make sure that, you're maximizing the value you receive also from the podcast. So that's number 3. And then finally, number 4, one of the most effective ways to grow your podcast is to secure spots on other people's podcasts, especially those individuals who are also in the space that you are as well. So I've, over the last probably about, let's say 6 to 12 months, I've actively tried to get out there and reach out to podcasters that are interested in hosting me as a guest on the podcast. And obviously that creates reciprocity as well, because oftentimes I've had the podcasters also on my podcast, so that's an easy ask on that front. But being able to expand your audience by getting on other people's podcasts is super crucial as you're starting to scale your operations. And so that would be my recommendation to you. Many of the podcasters out there, especially those that do daily podcast or weekly podcast, they'll have a podcast application form. I would encourage you guys to create a list of those individuals and fill out the forms and actively follow up. And from there, leverage the interviews that you've had to then say, hey, do you know anyone who has a podcast as well? I'd love to potentially be interviewed on their podcast. Just, again, putting yourself out there on a regular basis and asking to be put on someone else's podcast is a great way to secure more podcast spots and ultimately grow your reach from your own podcast as well. So hopefully you gain some value from this video. These are some of the tips that I've learned over the last 1.5 years or 2 years of doing podcasting, and it has been a great experience thus far, and it's only going to continue to grow and expand and hopefully create multiple different verticals for my business. If you guys are interested in learning more about the commercial real estate market here in Louisville, Kentucky, please follow, subscribe. It really makes a huge difference, and you'll be great at getting a lot of great content as a result of this channel. If you guys are business owners or investors looking in the Louisville metro area or surrounding areas, including Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, etc., would love to help you search for space for your commercial business. Or, if you're an investor, you want to buy assets in the area, be happy to represent you in doing so as well. Feel free to reach out to me. My number is 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at raphael@crescentigroup.com. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.